Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 1 of What If Uraraka was an Electromaster? I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So we begin. A darker than usual night was passing by the city. The number of people roaming the streets decreased as the minutes passed by. The chatter became higher and more obnoxious at the entrance of a secluded closed shop. A group of thugs had a middle school girl surrounded.
You're pretty cute, aren't you? What's more, she's a student from Rosario. What do you say, guys? How about she comes with us? We'll even take you home eventually.
Their leader said to his lackeys jokingly. Even without their approval, he'd be carrying out his wishes. The middle schooler just stood there unfazed as she looked over to see if anyone passing by would have the slightest hint of decency to help her. But they all seemed to avoid making eye contact at all cost.
A bunch of morons came to hit on me, and nobody seems to care. Typical. Just leave it to a hero to solve it, right? Not like it matters because the moment they become too bothersome, I'll let them have a taste of my quirk.
She thought to herself, seeing how nothing would ever change. Nobody would help a stranger and stand up for justice without being a pro-hero. And even if they did, they would have to be the biggest idiot to do so. Thank goodness I finally found you! You shouldn't be going ahead all by yourself like that, you know. A freckled boy with broccoli-colored hair had just made his way through the crowd of thugs to grab her hand to pull her out of the situation.
Hold it!
The girl shouted and got her hand out of his grasp.
Just who the hell do you think you are?
The boy just stood there in shock as all the thugs realized that he was doing the common fetching up a lost friend strategy. With this realization, they were ready to pounce and kill the boy right on the spot.
How annoying. Getting saved by a quirkless nobody that will get taken out before he even gets to save me. Well, time to...
Within her mind, this had surfaced, but before she could conclude those thoughts of hers, the freckled boy spoke up. Yeah, that's right. I can't bear to watch how a bunch of guys circle a girl. Don't you feel ashamed of yourselves? Your actions are unforgivable. Like, come on! Going after a lonely child is just wrong.
Lonely... child?
Her patience was at its breaking point. Just look at her! Seeing you guys fail at dealing with such a spoiled brat irritates me. The green-haired boy added, sentencing his own demise. Visible sparks of blue electricity began to come out of her whole body quite violently after hearing those words. The immediate area felt like the very beginnings of a thunderstorm.
The one who's irritating me is you!
The pissed-off pink-cheeked girl screamed, unleashing her quirk on everyone around her, electrocuting all the thugs to a crisp.
Overpowered quirk user,
was all the leader could say before collapsing, joining his knocked-out lackeys on the now blackened tiles beneath.
Can't believe I used it on a bunch of small fries.
Uraraka told herself while stretching. Leaning against the wall for so long had given her a slight backache. Ochako was ready to leave, but as she began to walk off, she felt movement from behind her, so she turned around to see who it was. The boy from before stood as if nothing had occurred, as if her quirk hadn't just been unleashed. That zap of yours is quite dangerous, don't you think? Just what on earth are you?
I should be the one asking that,
she shouted back.
How come you're the only one unharmed?
She further questioned. That's not important. What's important is getting a reason as to why you attacked me as well. I was just trying to help. The still no-name guy yelled back at her.
I don't remember asking for your help.
Trying to make him scram, Ochako shot an electric shock at him, but it disappeared once it made contact with his right hand. This puzzled the Electromaster as she couldn't sense any sort of quirk factor emanating from him.
What's your quirk?
The unhinged teen demanded an answer. Well, you see, I'm quirkless. Freckled no-name Broccoli answered with a slight laugh.
Then how did you block my attack without a quirk?
In her momentary daze, Uraraka didn't notice the boy had made a run-for-it move to escape. This annoyed her wildly as she wanted to find out how he had canceled her attacks. So out of her pocket, she took out one of her steel nails and pointed it at the boy's leg. This should stop him in his tracks, she thought. But as she was ready to fire it, her quirk stopped working.
How many times do I have to explain that you cannot use your quirk so recklessly without supervision?
Her personal tutor said while staring down at her through his visors.
Ugh, stop babying me around, Racerhead! I've already memorized all the stuff you told me.
Yeah, you used your quirk to take out all those men and were about to shoot and nail the boy who helped you.
He pointed out, releasing her quirk from his control.
So can you look at me with a straight face to tell me that you're abiding by my rules?
Without hesitation, the girl did just that, beginning an argument right after.
Then where were you when they surrounded me, huh?
She countered.
Swinging around the rooftops? As a pro hero, you should have saved me! Even more so knowing that you're the one looking after me.
Shocha stretched his face with his fingers as he tried to find the strength to deal with this obnoxious child he had been assigned to ever since she was recommended to enter UA High. Ochako Uraraka, a hero? Who thought that someone like her should ever be a hero? She disregarded every rule in the book to the point that she could make vigilantes blush. Not like her actions were heroic either. No, she was pretty selfish when it came to that. It didn't help that her quirk basically made her into an electric goddess that could destroy the entirety of the island's power grid with a mere tantrum. With every day that passed, her temper got worse and worse. The girl was a menace. Giving her a mandatory curfew? Please! She's an escape artist who finds a way to bolt out of her school dorm at a moment's notice. Take away her allowance? She'll hack the system and get it back, and then some more. Prohibiting her from engaging in combat? As if. She'd not only serve as bait, but she'd also taunt people to confront her, leaving them near death at times once she was done with them. Uraraka craved excitement in her life, and no matter what rule or wall she had to break, she would do so without a second thought. Eraserhead couldn't wait for the day she would get past this phase, so he wouldn't need to look after her anymore. That day would be the start of his road to heaven.
I'll have to inform your dorm supervisor about tonight's escape.
The pro hero then let her know. She wasn't happy to hear it at all.
Come on, you can't be serious. She'll snap my neck.
The now frightened girl cried out, hoping that he would feel bad enough not to do it anymore.
I'm letting you off easy. Who do you think has to deal with whatever this is?
The sight of her outburst was quite apparent to anyone passing by, even more so with a pile of unconscious bodies on it.
You,
she answered under her breath. Right after, Aizawa sent her back to her dorm at Rosario Middle School, and without another complaint, Ochako did as she was told. Going back was rather depressive, knowing that nobody was waiting for her. Nobody ever wanted to be her roommate due to her unstable emotions and attitude, so she had the entire room just to herself. Eternal solitude. Being alone can sometimes be a blessing, but most of the time it's a curse. Of this, the electric girl knew very well. Soon she would graduate, and because of the letter of recommendation written by the principal, she would be starting at the #1 hero school in Japan. Perhaps this could allow her to make friends, but if she were honest with herself, she didn't want to go there. She didn't want to be a hero. Throughout her whole life, she had witnessed how complacent everyone had become because of them. If there were a problem, then a hero would arrive to deal with it. If someone was in trouble, then only a hero could save them. If someone was being murdered, then the hero would be the one cleaning up the bloody corpse. Mostly hate was all that she could feel toward them. Only All Might was the exception to some extent, as he had saved her mother long ago from a villain attack. But within her very being, she truly hated him the most. If he had been faster, her mom wouldn't have suffered a miscarriage. If he had been a true hero, Ochako wouldn't be alone in this world. She would have had a little sister to love and take care of. Her resentment towards the #1 hero was something that could never be extinguished, and she didn't want it to anyways. Someday, she would make him yield to her immeasurable power. On that day, she would let him know that he had failed someone who never got to be born. When she finally made it back, she was reprimanded by the dorm supervisor to no end. By the time the woman was done with that annoying voice of hers, Uraraka had received quite an array of punishments. First, her curfew would become more strict, with one less hour to do stuff outside. Second, she would be cleaning the dorm starting tomorrow morning until it was left spotless. And to conclude with the list of punishments, she would have to attend after-class lessons to help her better her attitude towards everyone alive. With a loud crash, Ochako closed the room's door and threw herself onto the bed. It wasn't fair that everyone wanted to limit her to their liking. It was absurd. First, she was inscribed here against her will, and now she was being punished for being herself. What a freaking nightmare! The girl missed her parents quite a lot. Once her quirk was discovered, checks started to show up at their door, and in a couple of years, Mr. and Mrs. Uraraka had become part of high-class society. They wanted to travel the world all over, and sadly their daughter wasn't a part of their plans. When she finished elementary school, they immediately enrolled her into Rosario Middle School, leaving her to live at the school dorms while their new adventure began. They still sent her a weekly allowance, but that would never replace the need she had for them. It made her sad that it had ended this way, but sometimes life isn't what you want it to be. Sometimes when the girl was by herself, she would break into tears while nobody could see or hear her. She missed those days when she wasn't just a money printing machine, when she was still their daughter first and the quirk came second. Nostalgia swallowed her whole as soon as she found herself drifting to sleep.
Now that the little troublemaker is asleep, I must inform you that Skillshare sponsors this video. With the services Skillshare provides, you can get access to many in-depth tutorial videos on basically anything you want to learn. Each class that they have is bound to help you with your creative endeavors. Do you ever want to improve and learn how to make videos like this one? Do you wish to learn how to write scripts or edit audio? Skillshare has you covered. And with the provided link, you can have a 14-day free trial. So what are you waiting for? Click it and get 14 days worth of classes free. You can find the link in the description below.
Shortly after saving her father at the construction site with the awakening of her quirk, little Uraraka was taken to a doctor to be checked. A small but very trusted man soon got to meet her, calling himself Dr. Tsubasa. In under an hour, he had carried out many tests on the child and concluded that she had a quirk known as Electromaster. It was one of the many electric-type quirks out there. With it, she could generate and manipulate electricity while also being capable of sensing all phenomena related to her power. All electric fields from the surrounding nature, along with all magnetic and electromagnetic information, would be processed subconsciously whether she wanted to or not. Unique to Electromasters was the ability to be influenced by electromagnetic waves to the extent of feeling unpleasant, which manifests as something akin to being watched. Moreover, they could also detect other Electromasters if there weren't any interferences, and this could be potentially powerful if the users had similar brainwave patterns. To some extent, this quirk also allowed them to sense quirk factors from others, quickly identifying who had a quirk and those that lacked one. After running diagnostics and seeing her immense potential, the secretive doctor knew that she could be of use.
With her quirk, he could finally open the gateway. I must proceed with caution,
Garaki told himself as he returned to meet the child with his fake persona. Telling the parents was the first thing taken care of. With them off his back, he would be able to manipulate the little one to get what his master desired. The vile man then told the parents that he would need more time with their daughter to conclude some extra procedures that only Electromasters require to go through. Another lie he had created within a flash. Those naive parents believed every word he spoke, and just like that, their daughter was left in his care for a while longer. Knowing that the girl was young and moldable, he took her to see kids in the rehab ward. The little one stood there watching as one hospitalized boy could barely walk to finish his session.
Is he hurt?
Little Ochako asked, concerned for the kid on the other side of the glass.
No, he's suffering from a disease called muscular dystrophy,
Garaki corrected, planting the first seed. The little one let out a faint scream as she saw the boy fall to the floor, but as he began to stand up, she started to believe that he could do it.
You see, it's a disease where your muscles gradually deteriorate. He has to live carrying such an unreasonable fate, so that's why he's putting so much effort fighting it,
he further explained, digging a little deeper. The boy finally got up, and this made Uraraka cry out in joy for him. What she didn't know was that it was about to be taken away.
But no matter how much he fights, the deterioration of his muscles won't stop. There's no cure known, so eventually, he won't be able to stand up. Finally, his breathing and heart functions will cease to operate, and he will die.
Hearing this, the recently awakened Electromaster sank into despair. She didn't want the boy or anyone else, for that matter, to die in such a way.
But that's only speaking from today's point of view. If we use your power, we might be able to help those like him. The brain's commands are relayed to the muscles through electrical signals. If, for instance, we had a method of controlling bioelectricity, we should be able to move muscles without having to use normal nerve roads. If we were to figure your power out as an Electromaster and manage to plant a seed of it, we might be able to conquer muscle dystrophy.
Now ready for the final step, Dr. Tsubasa continued.
Would you be willing to lend us your DNA map?
He asked while extending his hand toward the small child. Ochako looked at the older man's hand and then at the boy behind the glass, and with a smile, she grabbed the hand in front of her.
Okay.
She exclaimed with the biggest smile she could muster. A wicked smile formed on the doctor's face, one that he quickly hid away from view.
Thank you.
Behind Dr. Tsubasa, a very short old lady was present, one that the girl could almost recognize from somewhere else. But as the kissing granny turned around, everything went into movie horror territory. The granny was ready to slurp up her soul. The confused and now awake girl let out as she realized it had been one of those again.
That nightmare again. Maybe I should have said no.
Leaving her bed, she went to get ready to clean the dorms, forgetting about that memory for the most part. Throughout the morning, she made many areas spotless, as she was instructed. Still, upon reaching the cafeteria, she came face to face with her bully, Shokuho Misaki, the school's queen bee.
Oh, if it isn't Uraraka,
the golden blonde star-eyed child said while reaching for something inside her bag.
This bitch.
The Electromaster muttered under her breath to then immediately receive the recoil of the controller's command.
Sorry about that. I don't seem to be able to stop.
The queen bee relentlessly spammed the button. She had heard the chestnut-colored-haired girl comment as this had set her up into a frenzy. Shokuho Misaki's quirk was known as a mental out, and with it, she could take over the world with ease. If Uraraka's quirk didn't protect her with an electromagnetic barrier, then she would have been wiped out long ago. Shokuho's quirk was quite powerful as it involved the human mind, which included mental control, reading other people's memories, telepathy, changing a person's personality, willpower and memory destruction, revelation and translation of emotions, brainwashing, and psychometry. Whoever was affected or under her control would have their eyes displaying the same star pattern that the quirk user possessed. Misaki's quirk has too high a degree of freedom, so she uses a remote to provide a basis to control her powers. She does not have a single remote, as she uses different remotes depending on what type of power she wishes to use. The bag she always carries around is filled with many other remotes, so she treasures it with her life. It is possible for her to use her powers without a remote, but it isn't easy, so she generally prefers not to. The relentless button presses finally ceased, and Ochako was able to move her head up. Her nose was bleeding, and the headache was making her go mad. I believe that's enough. It's not like you could beat me anyway, Misaki teased while placing her tool back where it belonged.
Wanna bet?
Uraraka shouted as she grabbed the blonde bimbo by her uniform and ripped a part of it. This animal-like gesture made the queen bee furious, and with a swift movement, she pressed a button on her controller, taking hold of everyone else in the cafeteria. All the students there were now under her control. The electric girl found herself surrounded, but being the troll she was, Shokuho commanded all the students to throw their trays full of food at her rival. Ochako Uraraka ended up bathed in all types of food from the vast selection that the cafeteria offered. It only stopped once the star-eyed one commanded it to be, and as she lowered her controller towards Electromaster, her star eyes showed pure, contained rage. This better be a lesson to you moving forward. Just because I can't control you doesn't make me weaker than you. I shouldn't be ranked lower than you. I should be number 1. With a final input, she recoiled the rebellious girl up front and then began to walk off. Enjoy cleaning the cafeteria, nail gun. And with that, she disappeared, freeing all the students there from her mind control. Uraraka had never seen eye to eye with Shokuho ever since she had transferred a year back. In their first encounter, she was a tiny, shy girl that could be startled by a butterfly. But somehow, she'd evolved into what she was now. She ruled over everyone and had control over all the teachers, so she had an impeccable academic record. Not like it mattered because it was all fake. The only one beside her who was immune to being mind controlled was the principal, a dog principal. Misaki could not use her quirk on animals, so he was aware of the things she meddled with. He was also responsible for ranking the quirks amongst the students. So that's why the queen bee had become such a queen bitch. It had been so fun to mock the little one when she was a short, scared little flatty. Now she was a freaking bimbo. In a single year, she had gone from looking like anyone's younger sibling to looking like a college senior. Puberty was weird sometimes, for sure, but regardless of all, Ochako had brought this upon herself, and now she had to deal with the mess on the floor, and later on with the mess on her very body. This was going to be a long day. The sun was setting down by the time she was done, and right after, she took a nice long bath, hoping to forget about it today. Once out, she put on street clothes and escaped once more to go have fun. In a big restaurant, she decided to go wild, ready to bet good amounts of money on being able to beat up some good-for-nothing slackers. But as she was pulling out the money, the same guy from before appeared right behind her.
I wouldn't bet against this one, fellas,
the broccoli-haired jerk commented, alerting the guys about what would have been their impending loss.
Are you fucking stalking me or something?
She screamed from within, only coming out as fuming to the rest of the world.
What are you?
Our Electromaster exclaimed before noticing that she was being ignored by all the guys around.
If you're so horny, then just go wank off to some videos online. Say what?
The guy who would have given free, easy money yelled right after. The broccoli boy thought that it was just one guy he had to deal with, but soon enough, a rest of the group arrived from the restroom, and now there were 9 of them. A nervous laugh escaped him, and with a quick distraction, he fled the place.
Running away again? Not this time, stalker. I'll be shooting my nails straight into your skull.
Uraraka hyped herself up and began running after him, electrocuting the 9 guys behind her just in case. The freckled stalker had managed to run quite ahead and even made it to the abandoned Kashik Bridge before a lightning spear ambushed him from the enraged girl. Like the previous times, this attack was also negated.
So that explains why none of the pursuers caught up to me.
Yep,
Uraraka exclaimed.
I took them all out the dining restaurant before they could ruin my chance.
With a cocky grin, she pulled out one of her steel nails and pointed it at the annoying guy in front of her.
Your chance at what?
He questioned while beginning to back away from the crazy lady.
To interrogate you, of course,
she answered with a yell, shooting her famous move that shared her name, Nail Gun. His right arm instinctively rose and negated the attack, the nail falling to the concrete floor. The girl then started to scream at him for lying about being quirkless, but the boy swore that he really was. 4 electric shocks were shot out to be negated, and by the end, the girl with a bad temper was exhausted. But this only made her excited to unleash one of her favorite moves. Thunderclouds soon surrounded the skies above them, and a second later, she used the nuclear option on her soon-to-be stalker boy. Regrettably, it didn't have any effect. and he ran away successfully once more while she wasn't looking.
You should work on your social skills.
Aizawa gave her a piece of advice, one she clearly needed. Noticing that he was once more here, she sat down.
You're one to talk, Eraserhead.
She tried to say with a straight face, but failed to do so and began laughing her ass off.
Touché.
Only a week remained until Ochako Uraraka joined the Class 1A at UA High. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. If you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Now, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. And if you want more content from me, check me out at Trina Do Heart on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day. Bye!